Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 11:01. Welcome. I'm so glad you guys are all here. Welcome to Level Up with Lori. We are on week 2 of our series here in January, and today's topic is the appointment engine. Lead gen pillars to keep your phone ringing and keep business flowing in with ease. I don't know about y'all, but that's something I always want. So I'm excited to dig into this with you guys today. As we're getting started, feel free to put in the chat, like, you can say hi, tell us where you're watching from, tell us if you have a favorite way to lead gen, anything like that. You're welcome to join the community. We're going to get right into it. We've got a lot to cover in an hour. And just so you guys know, this is going to be the first of 2 sessions around lead gen. So today we're going to dig into kind of like the bird's eye view, higher level lead gen pillars, lead gen strategy to grow a super successful business. And then next time we will get into more of like the tactical how-tos and all of those things. So it's going to be fantastic. I'm excited you guys are here, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and feel free ask questions as you're going along. I'll check out the chat sort of like later as we get going, but feel free to say hi in the chat. Tell everybody where you're watching from today. And I'm excited to jump right in with you guys. So let me just go ahead and share my screen. Perfect. All right, cool. So like I said, here we are, the appointment engine, lead gen pillars. Last week, we set everything up. We talked about the economic model. Now we're going to build the machine that actually feeds it. So if you weren't on last week, you can definitely get the recording. If you don't have it in your email, let me know. I'll send it to you. But last week, we basically broke down the full clarity of knowing exactly how many conversations you need to have every single week, how many appointments you need to have every single month to get the amount of money in your bank account that you want in the year 2026. And so now we're going to build the machine that actually feeds that and makes it happen, which of course is your lead gen pillars. And I love this statement on here. Consistency is not about discipline. I think that's really important because sometimes we think about like we just, I've got to be more disciplined, and like that doesn't really sound like who's like excited about discipline. Not many of us, but it's not about being so hardcore really. It's about consistency. What you do, it's like little drips, right? What you do every single day compounds over time. So consistency is not about discipline. It's about building smart pillars that work for you, that work with your personality style, that work with your lifestyle, and sticking to a simple daily plan. So that's what we're going to do so that we can feed your strategic business plans and goals. How's that sound? You guys excited? Give me a yeah or something in the chat. Tell me you guys are excited. I want to hear from you and know that you're here. Okay. So the first thing we are going to talk about today is the foundation. We've got to build your foundation. So this is the MREA lead gen model. If you're not familiar, MREA stands for Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It is the tried and true, time-tested red book. I consider it for top agents. It truly is like your blueprint that top agents use to develop the business that they have and to grow the business that you want. And so I'm so grateful. I don't know about y'all. I'm such a hard worker. And if you're a hard worker, it's so comforting to know like you can lean in on the MREA models. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to think up something new and magical. Follow the system. It is like a cake recipe, right? Like 2 + 2 is going to equal 4 when you follow the model. So all you have to do is be willing to do the work. So basically, when we talk about lead gen, we're going to be talking about 3 models. Oh, I want to say one thing too. One reason why I'm so passionate about the Red Book, besides the fact that I've, personally with my own eyes witnessed countless top agents become net millionaires because of the MREA models. In addition to that, I have experienced it myself. So for those of you that don't know, my husband, Josh, has been in real estate for quite a while, longer than I have. I got licensed in 2020, and honestly, at that time, I wasn't fully like sold out on Keller Williams. I really joined because Josh was here, my husband, and he was like, trust me, it's the place to be. And I was like, okay. But I wasn't really like, I didn't, that's why I joined Keller Williams. However, I'm smart enough as a business owner. I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, ran my own business, and I'm smart enough to know that you copy the right cat. Like you don't need to start something brand new and reinvent the wheel. You're going to make your life hard. So lean into what's already working and develop the systems. And so that's what we did when I was a new real estate agent. All I did was just obsess about how the Keller Williams models work and went all in on the lead generation models. And over those next 2 years, we grew my husband's business from consistently doing around 3.5 to 4 million in sales volume a year to doing 18 million in sales volume a year. We did not purchase one lead. We simply used the tools that Keller Williams already had, and it truly exploded our business. And that is why I'm personally so passionate, because it works. I'm living proof, in addition to the many, many millionaire real estate agents that are also living proof. So with that being said, we're going to talk about 3 buckets today with your lead gen strategy. And as you can see, you've got your met people, which are people that you already know who already know you. They're probably your Facebook friends, they're in your cell phone. That's always going to have the highest conversion. Typically, with people that you already know that you're communicating with regularly, you're going to convert about 10 to 1, meaning 10 people that you communicate with regularly, you should find about 1 deal a year, be it them or someone that they're referring to you. People that you haven't met is people that you're trying to meet, right? People you're trying to get into your database and grow relationships with. This is going to be more broad, like groups of people, like farming an entire neighborhood, hosting events that you're trying to get, maybe your people that you already know to bring their friends to so you can expand and meet them, hosting open houses, social media content to attract people through YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc. So that's gonna be more medium conversion, right? For every 50 to 100 conversations that you have, you should find about 1 piece of business. And then, of course, the gold, my personal favorite, the repeat and referral business. That's the favorite. It's almost always underdeveloped. Most agents, how repeat and referral business works is they just hang out. And then when somebody randomly texts them with a referral or a repeat client, they're just like, woohoo! And that's cool. It can feel like a little golden egg, but you can do that much more intentionally to increase the amount of business that you're getting from that category of your business. The biggest mistake that I very consistently see agents make is building too many pillars. So typically, the most top agents that you're going to see crushing it in the industry focus on 3 lead generation pillars or methods, right? One is always your database, which is people that you've met, and then 2 other methods to make 3. So many times I sit down with agents and they're like, I've got 42 ideas, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I might do this. I really need to get better at social media. Maybe I'll start a podcast or a YouTube thing. I was thinking about hosting some events, getting involved at the Chamber of Commerce. By the way, what about this neighborhood over here? I'm going to do a home buyer workshop, right? And I think the reason why that happens, feel free to put in the chat of why you think it happens. But for me, I think the reason why it happens is because all of the ideas work, right? All of the ideas work. And you can always find somebody in real estate who is doing something and crushing it, right? Like you might be focused on social media, and next thing you know, you meet someone that's crushing it, calling expired listings and FSBOs. And so then you're like, oh, I should do that too. And that's where we really get in the muck, because when you're chasing too many lead gen methods and pillars, none of them ever get hot. They all stay lukewarm, and you don't really get the results that you want. And you end up honestly just tired. And who wants to be tired all the time, right? Not me. So that's what we're going to focus on today is let's choose your pillars so that you can be crystal clear on the methods that you're doing. When I was building my other business as an entrepreneur, my husband and I talked about this a lot, because when I was newer, I was in this trap where I was like, oh, I would always hear another fabulous idea of some way that somebody was successful, and I would try to add that in. And I ended up chasing 12 rabbits. And at the end of the day, what I found to be the magic of any business, whether it's real estate or anything, is you put your blinders on, right? Think about like a horse in a horse race. You put your blinders on, you're racing against yourself. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It matters about you committing to what you're going to do, because all of the methods work when you consistently do them, right? So we're going to choose 3 pillars maximum. You want to think about your business like this. If you only have 1 pillar in your business, meaning you're just working your database, or you're just doing open houses, or you're just working Zillow leads, you have a very fragile business. It's too risky. It depends on one single source. That source could disappear in a minute. Or as we all know, like you might have one source you're working, but everybody in that lead source is going to be ready in 6 months. Well, now what are you doing? You're just hanging out, waiting for them, right? So that's not going to really build momentum for you. Two pillars is stable, but it's probably not going to give you enough momentum that, you're going to feel that up and down in real estate a lot more. And three pillars is scalable. That gives you that optimal balance for growth. Once you get beyond that, it starts to feel like chaos. You spread yourself too thin and you just cannot do it consistently. I did want to point this out. I think this is a really important thing to think about when you're thinking about what are my lead generation pillars going to be? How am I going to build this appointment setting engine? A pillar is only a pillar if you're doing it weekly, regularly, maybe even daily. Like if you have something that you're calling a lead gen method that you do once a quarter, or like every couple times a year, it's not fully like, how is that? It's not really a pillar. It's like an extra. You know what I mean? So I want to challenge you with that is ask yourself the things that you're choosing for lead generation, are you willing to do them every week consistently? That's the key. Now, if you remember from last week, I have a list here, by the way, of those of you that were on last week that want your KPA analysis, your strengths analysis, and I'll make sure to get that to you this week because one of the things that we do with that strength analysis is we run it through a system where it will actually highlight if you feel like we're going to go through this in a minute, and if you feel like, yeah, those are all great, but I really don't know which pillars of lead generation strategy I should focus on. It's going to highlight based on your strengths, your personality style, the methods that will work best for you. Because there are personality styles that do better with calling expired listings and door knocking. And there's other personality styles that would be the death of them, right? Like they would hate that. So you've got to be clear on who you are. Okay. So we're going to dig into it, y'all. We're going to talk about each pillar and I'm going to give you some pretty in-depth thought around each one because how else are you going to choose, right? So just, the examples of pillars that we are going to focus on, because remember, you want to choose three. Oh, shoot. You know what? I forgot to give you guys something. Hold on. Let me go to the chat box really quick. Oh, yay. Layton said he's excited. Okay, I just sent you a Google Doc. I'll also send this out afterwards, but I did create a worksheet that you can use to follow along. Otherwise, just take notes, on a piece of paper. But when you click that link I just put in the chat, just make a copy and then you can edit it and type in it and all of that stuff if you'd like to. But the pillars that we're going to review today are database, as you can see, pillar number 1, open houses, social media, events, community presence, your geographic farm, agent to agent referrals, door knocking, and paid leads. So those are the pillars that are gonna be the ones to choose from today. Of course, there's other ones you can do too, but those are kind of the best like go-tos to start. So let's do a little deep dive here of your pillars so you can get clear on what you think will work for you. By the end of today's call, my goal is that you're crystal clear on what your 3 lead gen pillars are going to be. And then our next level up Zoom, we're going to dig into that even more so you have the exact strategies and action plan to execute that type of lead gen pillar well. So pillar number 1, of course, is your database. Y'all, this is essential. I really feel like, you got to do this one. Everyone's got to do this one. And by the way, I want to encourage you to, we're not choosing pillars that you like. We're choosing pillars that actually generate appointments consistently. So ask yourself that question too. Do I like that pillar or am I able to do it consistently where I can generate business? So why is the database essential? Well, this is where you get the highest level of conversion. 67% of all real estate business nationally comes from referrals and repeat clients, which means they come out of your database. Within Keller Williams, when you're doing an automated 36 touch program, which we'll talk about in more detail next time, you should have a 10-to-1 ratio within your database. Now, we also include 20-to-1 because, it can vary, but generally you should have a 10-to-1 ratio within your database when you're communicating consistently and people are hearing from you consistently. That's the key. That means for every 10 people in your database, you should find 1 piece of business. So if you have 100 people in your database, you should find 10 pieces of business. If you have 200 people in your database, you should find 20 pieces of business. Now, some of y'all are sitting on a gold mine right now, and you're thinking about, going out and paying for leads when you have 1,000 people in your database. Now, I know that sometimes it can feel like, gosh, it might take a little longer for results to come, but it is the absolute gold. And remember, this is not when I say your database, we're not talking about a spreadsheet. We're not talking about your just the contacts in your phone. We're talking about, do you have those contacts uploaded to a database, if you're with Keller Williams, to Command, where you've got them tagged, you've got notes on them, you've got automation, follow-up plans, smart plans running with automatic communication every single month. So you're staying in connection with them and you're giving them value regularly. Fun fact, NAR actually came out with a statistic, and this is so important to think about when you're thinking about database communication and why I feel like I could just stand on like a soapbox about database communication and how to get results from it. Because if y'all are anything like me, when I was new, I did not fully trust the database. And what I mean by that is like, I was like, I need business now. And sometimes database can take longer, right? It's definitely a real estate in general is a long-term game. So for me, I thought about it like, okay, let me do database really well and then do some other things where I can find instant business at the same time. Because when you're communicating with your database consistently, so let me just give you this stat from NAR, National Association of Realtors. This is why automation is key to convert business out of your database at a high level. Over the last year, NAR does research every single year. I'm so excited to hear their new findings in a month. But they found this past year that the average consumer knows 9 realtors. That's a lot, right? They also found that even though the average consumer knows 9 realtors, that when they get ready to buy or sell, 82% of them only contact one agent. It means the other 8 are just out there. So you might have people that know you're an agent, but are you top of mind with them? Are you the person that they think of when they think of buying or selling, or their neighbor or their coworker thinks of buying or selling, right? NAR also found that in order to be top of mind and to be that one person that people think of, that people need to hear from you every 15 to 21 days. They must hear from you in some way, shape, or form every 15 to 21 days in order to get this 10 to 1 conversion, in order to find this level of business out of your database. The only way to do that effectively is with automation, right? Like we can't call 400 people every 15 to 21 days. That would be a lot in your life, right? And so that's where this comes from. So when you're looking at your weekly activity for your database, 10 to 20 conversations, 5 to 10 nurtures, 1 social check-in, a weekly email or text campaign, a bi-weekly video update. These are all things that you can automate, and we'll talk about this in more depth next time. But what I wanted to say about this for myself was I remember when we were starting this campaign and I was like, oh my gosh, like we were sending emails, we were doing pop buys, we were sending gifts, and I was making quarterly phone calls. Like I was doing the full 36 plus touch with our database. And I remember getting like 5, 6 months in and I was like, this is not working. Like nobody was even replying to be like, cool, thanks for the information. It was just like crickets half the time, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I will never forget Caroline, my little girl, was a newborn. She was probably like 6 months old at the time, maybe 6 months old, or might have been pregnant. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, um, I was sitting on the nursery floor of her nursery in our house, and I randomly got a phone call from this lady that was in my database, and I'd been nurturing her for the solid 6, 8 months, something like that, with zero response, like emails, text messages, things in the mail, not even like thanks, nothing, right? And she calls me and she goes, hey, Lori, oh my gosh, I just have to tell you, I have been loving the information that you've been sending to me. It's so helpful, and I really appreciate everything you've been sending to me. By the way, will you come sell my townhouse? It was a $550,000 townhouse in Lake Norman, and I about fell out of my chair if I was sitting in a chair, but I was sitting on the floor, but I would have fell out of a chair. Like it, I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you kidding me right now? But that is the magic of your database. When you consistently plant seeds, you stay top of mind. People don't typically reach out to you until they need you. But if you're not top of mind, when they need you, you're not the one they're calling. That's why it's super, super important. Now, the great thing about database is it's a low monthly cost. If you're with Keller Williams, your CRM's included, so you don't have to worry about that. And then it's just a few hours daily of purposeful communication. So super, super empowering when you do it right. Cool. Let's keep moving here. Um, make sure I didn't miss something. Yep. Okay, cool. Next thing we're going to talk to, oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you this. What are the pitfalls with database? I kind of just mentioned them. Biggest things that hold agents back from crushing it with their database is they think it's slow. That's because those seeds are in the dirt, right? You're planting seeds in the dirt. Think about gardening. You got to put the seed in the dirt, you got to water it. And for a long time, it's going to look like nothing is working. And then eventually something starts to sprout up, right? It's the same thing with your database. It's not actually slow, it's actually the most effective and most profitable typically, but agents think it's slow. The other pitfall is inconsistent communication because if you don't do it consistently, you won't get the results. And pitfall number three would be not having weekly connection goals, which means like, did you do the plan last week? Do you know how many conversations you need to have every week? And are you tracking it? Okay. Um, Also, I did want to mention one last thing about database. Sorry, one last thing. If you do have, now everybody should be thinking about growing their database all the time. If you are newer or just you have a smaller business and you have fewer than 100 or 200 people in your database, that really has to be your top priority is how am I building my database every day? Because you need more people to consistently nurture. Cool. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is high impact pillar options. So database, remember I said that's got to be one. Now for me, if you're like me, I was like, cool, I'm going to do database. And then what else can I do to get quick conversion while I'm waiting for my database to convert? Well, some of these are some of the ones that I chose, and maybe you will too. So high impact pillar options. You've got open houses. We'll talk about that in a minute. Open houses, social media, events, and community. I'll just tell you guys in case you're wondering, what did I do to triple our business in 2 years? We did database, open houses, social media. Those were the things that we did. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But I love, love, love open houses. Could not love them more. Ain't nobody gonna be able to tell me the lie that open houses don't work because y'all, they work. How do they work though? They work when you do them consistently. Now, I do want to say something to give you guys props if you're like in the camp of like, well, I don't know. I've done open houses the last 3 years and they didn't work. Well, there has been a shift in our market. And what I mean by that is before 2020, open houses were incredibly effective. My husband, I can use him as an example. When he was a brand new agent, this was in 2017, he committed to doing open houses consistently. That first year in business, his first full year as an agent, he was doing 2 to 3 open houses a week. So consistently doing a lot of open houses and following up with the leads that he met at those open houses. Then he made over $112,000 in GCI that first year as a brand new agent, completely from open houses. I just had a conversation with a top agent a month ago who they're a top agent, but they've also only been in business for 2 years currently in 2025, 26. And all that he does is open houses. He does 2 to 3 every single weekend. His first full year in the business, he did 16 million doing open houses only. He literally like moved here, knew nobody. And then he's on track to do like 18 million this year with the same method. So don't tell me they don't work. However, there is a gap. So what I was saying is my husband did that before 2020. Now, 2020, 21, 22, and maybe a little of 2023, it is true that open houses kind of died. Why? Because the market went bananas and people weren't even looking at houses. They were buying houses sight unseen. It was this mayhem, this free for all. A lot of times, what agents were experiencing was when people came into open houses, they were already represented, things like that. The great news is that right now, 2025 and 26, we've seen a shift back the other way, which is that we're getting the traction again, like how we used to with open houses. Unrepresented buyers are coming in, partially because in the last 6 months, we found that buyers don't want to be as committed. So maybe they don't want to have like hire an agent and start formally having showings at houses, but they're interested in buying. So they're window shopping unrepresented at open houses. And now that the interest rates are starting to drop, we're seeing open houses pick up even more. So I really want to encourage you. Open houses do work. You have to do them consistently. Now, what does this mean? 40 people through equals 2 to 3 serious conversations. I do not mean 40 people in one open house. I just mean, so you've got to do them consistently. 30 to 40% of visitors right now we're finding do not have an agent. They're unrepresented, which means potential client for you, right? It is the best method if you're personable. So like, why do I feel like open houses worked really well for the 2 agents I just made examples of? they're really good at connecting with people in person. If you're personable and you can connect really quickly in live conversations and build that foundation, then open houses are going to crush for you. If you're super introverted and you're not comfortable in those live on the spot conversations and building quick connections, then open houses might not be your thing because they're not going to work. If you do an open house, then you're just like, welcome to the open house. And then you let people go in and then they leave and you ask them to sign in. That's not going to give you the results. You have to develop the relationship at the open house. So I think that's really important to consider there. But 2 to 3 serious conversations. That means I recommend minimally having, if it were me and it was my business, I would say minimally 2 open houses a week to get results. Now, if you're holding minimally 2 open houses a week, you should end up meeting at least 40 people throughout the month. And that means throughout that month, you should pick up a solid 2 to 3 serious clients who are ready to buy or sell. So that's what those numbers mean. Now, the great thing about open houses is it is lower cost. It's not going to cost you a bunch. You might be paying maybe 15 to 60 bucks, depending on signs, balloons, printed materials, or if you decide to run an ad and promote it. Obviously, it takes a little bit of your time, probably. I mean, it depends. Like the national average for open houses is 5 to 7 hours a week, or excuse me, 5 to 7 hours per open house. And that depends. That involves the prep work, the door knocking, the hosting of it, the follow-up, etc. Once you get things automated, I don't personally envision 5 to 7 hours of your week being dedicated to each open house personally, right? An open house is going to be 2 hours of your time. And then maybe once you get your systems down, maybe an hour, otherwise with prep work and follow-up, because a lot of that can be automated. And then, like I said, open houses are fantastic for fast leads because you could have 0 clients. Go do an open house this Saturday and bam, you got 2 clients. Like it can just happen like that. So I love that. I also wanted to share this key stat. Let me make sure I don't have yeah, okay, cool. I also wanted to share this stat that I thought was interesting about open houses before we keep moving. This is stats according to NAR. So 7% of buyers found their home directly through an open house last year. But like I said, 30 to 40% of open house visitors do not have an agent. So it is a fabulous outlet for you. And of course, you want to remember open houses do produce more buyers than sellers. So keep that in mind. Like I know there's some agents on here that have told me personally, hey, I love working with buyers. If you love working with buyers, open houses are an absolutely phenomenal thing to do. Now, we'll get into open house strategy more next week because there are some very specific things you can do with open houses to also attract sellers if you want to work with sellers. But just keep that in mind. What are the pitfalls of open houses? The biggest one is poor follow-up. If you go to an open house and meet a bunch of potential leads, and then that's it, ain't nothing gonna happen, buddy, right? It ain't gonna happen. You've got to follow up. And that means automation, consistent phone calls, text messages. I love to put my people that I build relationships with at open houses on an MLS strip for things they're looking for. I'm really focusing on value because they're going to be a little bit like that database where they're not going to respond to you until they're ready, but you've got to be the person being top of mind. The other pitfall with open houses is not promoting enough. If you just go put an open house sign out there 4 hours before the open house, nobody's really going to show up. And then sitting passively, like I said earlier, if you just stand at the door and let people walk through, nothing's going to happen. You have to be ready to thrive in those live conversations and build those connection skills. And don't forget, next week, we're going to talk more detail about how to actually do this well. So I'm just kind of giving you the bird's eye view. Again, open houses, I know I said I would do 2 a weekend if it was me. However, let me just give you the bare minimum. Keep this in mind. Remember, we said if you're not willing to do something consistently, it's not a pillar. If you're not willing to do 2 or more open houses per month, open houses cannot be one of your pillars. It would just be random luck. Because if you just do 1 open house a month or here and there, it's luck of the draw. That's a crapshoot. You can't, because open houses are really a numbers game. You've got to do a lot of them to find the people. Okay. And like I said, we're going to talk about that in more detail next week. So let's talk about social media, my other favorite. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, social media is taking off. Like it's always been a thing. When I got licensed in 2020, I went all in on our social media strategy. And the great thing about it was we actually attracted a lot of relocation buyers through social media because people were looking to move to Charlotte, right? 100 people a day moved to Charlotte. And they were finding us on TikTok and Instagram because I was consistently putting content out there. So it's always been fantastic. However, what they're finding in the last year that I think is really important to know is that social media is very quickly beginning to surpass every other lead gen method besides your database as far as conversion ratios. How much business are you actually getting from the efforts that you're putting in? So, if you don't want to do social media, that's fine. You don't have to, right? There's a lot of ways you can build your business. However, if you're open to social media and you're willing to do it consistently, this can be an absolute game changer for your business. Here's some fun facts. Now, it is going to be, well, let me tell you this first so you can see on the screen. 52% of buyers start their search on social media. We can all probably relate to that. How many of you here have gone on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or ChatGPT for a question, right? A lot of us, right? It's one of the strongest places that people start looking for things. And when that says buyers start their search on social media, it doesn't just mean that they're like, find me a house, right? They might be thinking, they might start searching best restaurants in Fort Mill or best things to do around Charlotte or whatever it is. It does require daily effort in order to do social media effectively and to convert from it. You're looking at posting daily. So daily engagement, daily posting, it cannot be like a once a week thing. The algorithm will not reward that. You're looking at minimally 20 to 30 minutes daily with 3 to 5 reels or YouTube videos weekly. Social media is perfect for storytellers, personality driven branding. Now, it is going to be a lower conversion rate overall than like your database. So for example, for every 40 to 80 conversations you have through social media, which conversation is not a post, right? Conversation means, and we'll talk about this in more detail next week, but for example, I go on Facebook and directly message someone and say, hey, Sally, happy birthday. I hope you have a great day today. By the way, how have you been? How's life? And I start that conversation. Or Instagram, someone DMs me a question and then I talk back and forth with them, or I DM them, right? That's a conversation. So for every 40 to 80 conversations that you have on social media, you're going to find a client. And whether that's back and forth conversations, direct messages, and for every 10 to 15 really strong videos that you put out, you should find a client. Okay. So whether that's a reel or YouTube. Now, the great thing about social media is the cost can be low. It depends, right? If you're going to pay a social media manager, that can be very expensive. So decide if you're going to pay in dollars or in your own time. But if you're paying in your own time, you're looking at $0 to maybe $200 a month, depending on what tools you're using. And you can use ChatGPT to help create your content calendar, your captions, your scripts for what you're going to say on video, and those sorts of things. So it makes it really, really easy. Social media is best for people who are comfortable on camera, because if you're just going to put up like static posts, like things that are like just a picture of something from Canva, you're not going to get the same conversion. People want to do business with you, the human being, not the picture, right? So if you're comfortable on camera, social media is great for you. If you're good at telling stories, if you're a personality driven brand, meaning, do business with me, know, like, and trust me. And agents who want to build authority fast. You could be a new agent, but go all in on social media, and you're going to demonstrate your knowledge and your competence, which builds trust and attracts people. The other thing I thought was cool, besides the 52% of buyers search on social media, 60% of millennials, which by the way, right, like I'm 42, I'm a millennial. So when you hear millennial, remember, we're not talking about 20-year-olds here. We're talking about established people that are grown-ups with dollars to buy and sell houses. 60% of millennials found their agent online. So don't be missing that one. It's a good one. What are the pitfalls of social media? If you just post without direct messaging people, you probably won't get the results that you want. If you post without a call to action, telling people what to do, message me, text me, comment below, those are examples of a call to action. Or if you make pretty content that's just like about your life without actually ever talking about real estate, those could throw you off and not get you the result. And like I said, this again, it's about consistency, right? If you do not want to be consistent, which means I would say bare minimum for social media would be 4 to 5 days a week you're posting and engaging on social media, then it cannot be one of your three pillars. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to consistently post and engage on social media 4 to 5 days a week? That would mean you're time blocking this into your lead gen time. Um, and we'll talk about exactly the framework of how to do that next week. Okay, and we're going to keep it moving. Events, community presence. So events-based businesses are absolutely phenomenal as well. And this is another really fantastic way to convert a lot of business. So typically from events, as you can see, event-based referrals, meaning that means like, so for example, you have your database, you host a quarterly event, you invite your database or your neighbors or people that you know to it, you ask them to bring a friend, or you just build a relationship and while they're there, ask them for referrals. That's an event-based referral. So it's like a referral being sent to you through someone that you're already close and connected with. So then the referral that you don't know, right? They've already kind of borrowed that trust through their friend's recommendation. So those event-based referrals typically convert at 70% plus. That's huge. It's ideal for agents who are involved, right? If you're already connected, maybe you're involved at your school, you're on the PTO, or you coach a sport, or you're involved at your church or nonprofits, or in the Rotary or a women's group or whatever. Relationship driven success is going to really, really serve you well here. And especially if you're already involved in something, it typically works really, really well. You're looking with conversion with events and community presence, about one client, you'll find about one client per 20 to 30 strong conversations. So events could feel more like a long-term play. You definitely have to nurture those relationships, but you can pick up some really solid clients that way. Or if you're doing events like where you're inviting people to, like, I'm hosting cookies with Santa and inviting my database. Typically a really well executed event, you should be able to pick up 1 to 2 additional clients. So it's a really great tool to focus on. Your cost, it depends on the event, honestly. I would say conservatively $50 to $500, depending on what type of an event it is. If it's more than that, I always recommend find a vendor partner that you can partner with, your lender, your home inspector, your local, like who are the local services that you give business to help your clients? They should be reciprocating to you and helping events, helping to support events that you want to do because you guys are a partnership, right? When you're thinking about events, the biggest things is that it does events, hosting events or volunteering in your community take a lot of time, right? So it is more prep heavy. It is more slow and steady. It's going to be over time. These are best for agents who are already connected. You can also just choose to get connected, but if you're already deeply connected in schools, churches, sports, nonprofits, etc., this is fantastic. It's great for relationship-driven agents. This might sound kind of funny, but parents in particular, I've seen a lot of moms do really great in this lane. Anybody can do great in this lane, but I've seen a lot of moms do really great in this lane, hosting events for families, kid-friendly events. I mean, dads could do that too, right? But I've seen that. So if you're a mama, that could be a good one for you. Agents with strong community ties. The other thing I thought was cool to know about why do event-based referrals convert as 70%? Well, this is from a Harvard social study. They found that people who attend events feel 2 to 3 times closer to the host. So if you're trying to deepen relationships within your database or open house leads or anybody that you're connected with, get them to come to an event. That's something actually I will say that when we were in that season of tripling my husband's business before I took over as CEO of the brokerage, we so if we hosted an event, we invited our database, but we would also invite all of our leads, open house leads. We promoted on social media because if you can get those people to show up, according to Harvard, they're going to feel 2 to 3 times closer to you, which means you're more likely to be top of mind when they're ready. Again, what are the pitfalls with events and community-based things? Inconsistency, you have to do it consistently. If you're just going to host one big event a year and that's it, it's not really a pillar. It's just like kind of a bonus, right? So like if I nurture my database and a part of my database plan is I'm going to do a photo shoot for my clients once a year and that's the only event I'm doing, that's just my database pillar, right? It's not an additional pillar. And the other pitfall would be follow up, not following up well or not doing a good job inviting and promoting. That's the red flag. If you're hearing events and community-based things and you um maybe you're not great at systems or the idea of like spending weeks planning an event, inviting people consistently, talking about it all the time, this is not a pillar for you. You do kind of have to have that knack where you're like, yeah, I kind of want to be an event planner. I like that. Not that you have to actually plan the event, you might have help, but you have to kind of enjoy inviting people and talking about those sorts of things because it will involve promotion, weekly invitations, direct message outreach, thank you messages afterwards, follow-up touches, etc. Okay, so we've talked about database. Then we've covered these three high impact pillar options that you can choose from. Now we're going to talk about some strategic pillar options. These are kind of additional things that you can do. Like if you're like, maybe you've picked two of those already, or you've only picked one. I don't know. Maybe you didn't like any of those three and you've just got database still. These are additional things that can help you grow your database, expand your reach, and continue to grow. So strategic pillar options, you've got your geographic farm. So geographic farm means, if you're not familiar, it just means you choose a neighborhood. Choose a neighborhood that you want to farm. Farming a neighborhood means you're communicating and adding value monthly, consistently every month in that neighborhood in order to build relationship and build presence in that neighborhood. Remember, it's top of mind awareness. With the geographic farm, it can definitely be slow at first, but then it can become exponential. So meaning on average, they, meaning real estate experts, recommend that you plan for about 18 months of not much happening in a farm before you start converting listings in that neighborhood and getting the results and the momentum. So if you're going to do a geographic farm, fantastic. However, it's really important to understand that this is probably not going to be your fast conversion lead gen method. This is a long-term play. It can take up to 18 to 24 months to get strong results and momentum. And you have to be committed financially and time-wise where people are hearing from you in some way, shape, or form every single month during that time. So it's really important to know. Typically, these are the averages is when you're doing a farm effectively. The first year, you'll probably get around 0 to 2 deals. Year 2, you're looking at momentum picking up and picking up anywhere from 5 to 10 deals. And year 3 is when the rubber hits the road. And that's when you meet top agents and they're like, oh, my farm is everything. It's because they've been doing it consistently for a long time. I thought this was really interesting that realtors that are doing farming, that are farming neighborhoods, average 41% more income after year 2. So it's a lot of upfront investment, but then you get a lot more conversion that is a lot stronger ROI year 2 and beyond. You are looking at a higher cost, 150 to 500 bucks a month. Honestly, I feel like that's minimal. And what I mean by that is like, so if I was farming my neighborhood where I live, it depends on how many houses there are, right? Is going to affect your cost. I mean, ours would probably be closer to 600 or 700 a month, which is part of why I always recommend if you're going to farm a neighborhood consistently, you've got to really pay attention to cost. You got to keep an eye on it. And it's a really great method to partner with somebody like a lender or insurance or somebody else to help make it not so high cost for you as the agent. It will take time every single week. You've got the mailers, you've got the door knocking, you've got the CMA drop-offs, etc. Now, I have something exciting to tell you. If you're on this and you're with Keller Williams Connected, we have a fabulous new marketing concierge program to help you with this. So you can actually work with our concierge program in 2 different ways. It's a legacy marketing suite concierge. So the first option is it's like $100 a month and they'll create all of your content for you, meaning they'll create all your mailers, your postcards, and all you have to do is just print them. And then if you're going to walk the neighborhood, you can do that. Or if you're like, I want the easy button and I don't want to have to even think about it, they will do everything for you. Like they will create your mailer, your piece of value. They will mail it to your farm, print it, everything, and you don't even have to touch it. So I would highly recommend taking advantage of one of those 2 options so that you can keep things super cost effective and simple. This is a really fantastic method for lead generation to focus on if you're detail oriented, if you are consistent, and if you know that you're not going to quit after 90 days. The biggest pitfalls that I think is important to be cautious about or be aware of if you're thinking about should I do a neighborhood and farm a neighborhood is things why doesn't it work for some agents? Well, if you choose a farm that's too big, that means it's probably going to be too expensive and it's going to end up becoming unmanageable before you get results. So that's definitely important. Not having a quarterly event. And what I mean by that is if you just give them a mailer every month and that's it, you might not, you've got to also get into relationship with the people. So if you're farming a neighborhood that you live in, great, go be involved in the community events and that'll kind of work. But if you're farming a neighborhood that you don't live in, I would highly recommend finding a way to have an event of some type there quarterly, like host a food truck in the neighborhood or an ice cream truck or, an event. If you live in the neighborhood, you can get involved in the social committee, right? So that would be the other pitfall. And then just not being consistently or choosing a farm with not enough turnover. So this is a tip, and you can figure this out through, gosh, what's the name of the thing? I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a tool on our matrix on Canopy where you can pull neighborhood stats and figure this out. But you want to make sure you choose a neighborhood that has about 1 to 3% turnover a year, meaning do people sell their houses in the neighborhood ever? If they don't, it won't be so fun for you, right? So that would be what that looks like. Okay, agent-to-agent referrals. We're going to keep it moving. High conversion. I love agent-to-agent referrals. One really cool thing about Keller Williams, if you're with Keller Williams, we talk about this a lot. Keller Williams is the #1 agent-to-agent referral network in the world. So it's also the #1 company that has communities and multiple groups that you can be connected with, so that you're not lost in the sauce and you can generate agent-to-agent referrals. I have to say, probably like 80% of top agents that I know, agent to agent referrals is one of their lead generation pillars because it is highly effective. It's very high conversion, 50 to 60% close rate. So you're getting hot leads that are ready to rumble. And average commission, right? You're going to pay a referral fee with an agent referral, but you still get a great, let's say you pay a 25% referral fee. Nothing is set, right? You can negotiate your own fees, but it's just an example. It can really be a really fantastic cash flow. It's really good for networkers with strong online brands. Of course, it's low cost for you because all you're doing is building relationships, but it does require monthly nurture, which is really important to keep in mind. So what does that mean? It means that you can't just go to an event or meet an agent that lives somewhere else and be like, cool, let's be referral partners and just hope one day they send you stuff, right? Agents are kind of like consumers, right? You have to be top of mind for them as well. So agents that are doing agent to agent referrals well have an automation nurture campaign running for those agents, just like they do for their database, because you want to be the top of mind person when they have a client in need, right? So that's the key. It's really fantastic if you're going to attend events, build those networks through attending events. Fayaz Dasaji at our office is a really great example of this. When he goes to conferences, you don't see him the whole time. And that's on purpose because he's like, I didn't come to this conference to hang out with people I already know at my office. I came to this conference to network and build my business. So he has his whole schedule packed when he goes to a real estate conference with happy hours and lunch meetings and breakfast meetings and dinner meetings with different people in different communities. And he's building those relationships deep because agent to agent referrals is a major piece of his bread and butter for his team. And it's super powerful. So the pitfalls with this that would be it. Meeting people, but then not building the relationship, not sending value. Another thing that you can do to help generate agent to agent referrals is be engaged in networking Facebook groups for agents, without getting sucked into the drama and all the things that happen on there. And I do think agent to agent referrals, it is important that you have a strong social media presence or brand consistency, if you're going to generate strong referrals, because those clients that are being referred to you that don't know you, that live in Ohio, that are moving to Charlotte, and the agent are going to be following along. And that's the way that you build that like, know, and trust, that you build that solidarity. Okay, lastly, door knocking. So these are very different. By the way, people that do great at geographic farm is typically a different subset than what's going to do great at agent to agent referrals, and a different subset for door knocking. So 3 different personality styles here. Door knocking is definitely a great method that works for certain personality types. Um, Typically, you're going to find one client per 75 to 150 doors. I got to tell you, people that are great at door knocking, it blows my mind. I know agents that are netting $1 million plus a year, and one of their main things they do is door knocking. You can get instant business that way, and it's extremely low cost. You don't have to, but I highly recommend this for high energy extroverts willing to grind because you're going to be out walking in a neighborhood 2 to 4 hours a week and getting a lot of rejection, but you find the people when you do. Now, definitely, if you have a strong script and you feel, or dialogue, I should say, you feel confident with what to say and you practiced, you'll probably convert more than one per 75 to 150. It might be more like 75 to 100. You'll find a client, and it's super low cost. So you just have to think about, am I high energy? Am I confident in conversation? It does pair well too if you're farming a neighborhood already. You can door knock that same neighborhood and then you kind of, it's a little less cold. And you have to be willing to be consistent. The pitfalls with door knocking is not doing it consistently, not tracking, and not having that confident dialogue to follow up. And of course, if you're introverted or you hate confrontation, please do not choose door knocking. You will not enjoy it. Okay. Now, the last one we're going to talk about is, and then we're going to talk about how to choose yours, paid leads. Now, don't panic. If you work paid leads like Zillow, Realtor.com, Ojo, etc., fantastic. I am not telling you not to do that. What I'm telling you is be aware of what statistics say and just don't put all your eggs in one basket. And what I mean by that, so like I had an agent that I was coaching at one time, and he did not know a lot of people, had moved to the area, did not know a lot of people. And so he wanted to just focus on internet leads. And what I ended up witnessing was that with that process, with that agent, was that like he worked really, really hard for a very low conversion rate for a low price point that he was having to pay a lot of money out of to the lead source. And there was no loyalty. Like he would work with someone, then all of a sudden they would just ghost him after 3 months and things like that. There was no like relationship and trust. And I really feel like in hindsight, thinking about what that agent's plan was great if you're really comfortable working with strangers and converting internet leads. They work and it does work. Do that. But do that alongside nurturing and growing your database and doing something that's highly converting, like open houses or, like one of these other things, social media. Do that consistently along with it. So internet leads work. Just I don't feel like they work if you do only that. Does that make sense? You're going to put all your eggs in one basket and you're going to feel tired. So this is the largest ROI pillar, which is why a lot of times you'll get leads through a team because it's a little bit more, it makes more sense cost-wise, right? Now, at our office, we do offer internet leads to all agents. We offer Op City and Prime Street. Those are lead sources available to all agents in our office. So if you want in on those and you're not in on them already, let me know. You have an app on your phone. The lead pops up on your phone. It's speed to leads. Whoever claims it first gets it, and it's a warm transfer lead to you. Now, no matter who you get it from, you're looking at about a 1 to 3% conversion rate for internet leads. Okay. So of course you can see Zillow has about 1 to 3% conversion, Realtor.com on average 1 to 2% conversion. Facebook ads, if you're running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, this is also, I would say, would go with Google pay-per-click as well. 0.5 to 1% conversion. I did not make this up. These are actual stats, and it's a high cost, right? Anywhere from minimally 300 to 3,000 a month. Some people pay multiple six figures a month for internet leads. And the big thing is you have to be a fast responder. These conversion rates are with same minute response time and ongoing follow-up nurturing, because sometimes you're going to get an internet lead that's really ready to go in a year. You've got to nurture them and stay in their world. So the required response time typically is 6 seconds. Don't panic. But that's the facts. It's about 6 seconds on average in order to convert well from internet leads. That means you have to be Johnny on the spot with your phone, answering the phone, and available. So it's really fantastic as a method for high-speed responders with tenacious follow-up. this is what I was getting at earlier. It's not a replacement for foundational work. And any very successful team that works with these types of leads will probably tell you the same thing, that you work these types of leads in addition to the other things because it goes along with. It's a really great complement to go with. If you can't commit to same minute response time, paying for internet leads could be a waste of money, because if you have an internet lead come in and it came in yesterday, and it's 24 hours later and you're like, oh, let me go ahead and call them now, you could end up feeling really frustrated, because the reality is with people with internet leads is they probably submitted something on some website and 5 different other websites all at the same time. So it's really, really, it's going to go quick. So that's really my main things there. Like I already said, it's great for agents who are high speed responders, tenacious follow-up with good follow-up systems. You have to be good with rejection, because you're going to get a lot of no's. There's going to be a lot of cold leads that just they didn't know they clicked on something, because that happens. And teams that have call support. So meaning if you're a part of a team that has really strong systems and support, or people calling to help convert, then that's a really fantastic way. You just have to be careful if you're doing this by yourself. Be mindful of overspending, not tracking your return on investment, not calling fast enough, or thinking that this is going to replace the rest of your work. Remember, one pillar only makes for a very weak, shaky business. So this can be one of your pillars, but it needs to be one of the 3 pillars. You want to make sure you have follow-up blocks regularly and manage your pipeline. Okay, we're going to wrap this sucker up, y'all. We got 5 minutes. Let's go. So how to choose your 3 pillars? Well, I want you to think about asking yourself these questions. What are you willing to do weekly, even when life gets busy? Write that down. What comes to mind, like out of your gut? What am I willing to do weekly, even when life gets busy? What produces the highest ROI for your personality? You probably could tell, like when I was describing certain methods, you probably were like, oh yeah, I love that. And other ones you were like, oh, like poke my eye out. That sounds horrible, right? Listen to your gut. Which pillars match your 2026 appointment goal? Do you have a really high appointment goal? You need a lot of conversion, or do you just want to do a few pieces of business? That might affect what you choose to do. What does your schedule actually allow? Like, do you have time if you need childcare, or to arrange things with your family, or with, I don't know, maybe your family shares one car. Like, do you have time to do the thing that you want to do? What did you try last year that worked? And what did you try last year that never caught traction? I love this. One of my mentors told me this once, which was, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if you just enter 2026 and you want it to be better or different than 2025, you can't just do the exact same thing as 2025, right? Like, what worked and what didn't, and what needs to shift. Which pillars are supported by your strengths? What can you afford financially? If you can't afford and you don't have the partnership to pay $500 a month to a neighborhood, to farm a neighborhood for 2 years, is that the one you need to do right now? Right? And what will compound if you do it consistently? What do you know you can do consistently? Okay, I want to hear from you guys. Put your 3 pillars in the chat. What are your 3 pillars going to be based on what we talked about today? What are you going to commit to? Put it in the chat. I want to hear from you. And while you're doing that, I am going to tell you a real quick intro to this business plan right here, the 3-3-3 business plan. So this is your daily system once you have chosen your lead generation pillars. Basically, every day, this is what you want to focus on. It's a very simplified version of your lead generation time block. So if you don't know what to do, start here with 3-3-3. Every day, your goal is to have 3 conversations with people who know you. Now, that doesn't mean you reach out to them and they never respond. Get 3 people who know you to talk back to you every single day. Have 3 conversations with people you have not met. That could be social media. It could be open house leads, things like that. I know you kind of meet someone at an open house, but do you see what I'm saying? Not in your database. And 3 database touches in getting 3 database touches into your sphere of influence. This is how you build a predictable pipeline. It's not, as you can see, we all know this, we can read, but it's not by spending hours scrolling for inspiration. It's not by looking around on Instagram. It's not by asking people for ideas. Like, all of the ideas I just shared work. They all work. You just have to choose the one that you want to do that's going to work for you consistently. You get the momentum by doing the same high impact activities every day. It's not about quantity of hours invested. It's about the quality of the work you're doing within the time that you're allotting to your business. This is how you build a predictable pipeline. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to build a predictable pipeline. Okay. We are almost done. Let me just get to the last couple of slides here. This is your weekly schedule blueprint. So this is what you're going to focus on. Monday through Friday, you're going to set up a lead generation time block. This is where your 3 pillars live. Every day, non-negotiable. Nothing else gets to live there. Why? Because you don't have a business if you don't lead generate. It is the most important activity that you can do every single day for your business. Even top agents that are netting $1 million plus are lead generating consistently. None of us are too cool for school, right? You've got to lead generate and guard that time like your life depends on it, because your business life does, right? If you don't lead generate, your business will die. Then you've got your follow-up time. So immediate response to morning activity. So you just spent 2 hours lead genning. People start calling you back while you're lead generating. You block time out right afterwards to call those people back, respond to their messages, continue those conversations. That afternoon, you're going on appointments, marketing, you're getting your client-facing work done. And on Friday is your pipeline management. You're going to review your week, what worked, what didn't work. You're going to batch your social media content so that you're not spending your whole lead gen time trying to create a reel. It's that simple. Your pillars have to live somewhere on your calendar, or they do not exist. This is how you create that appointment engine, that predictable success in your business. The economic model last week gave you the foundation for knowing exactly what you need to do. We chose your 3 pillars today, and now we're going to plug those 3 pillars into a very simple 333 daily plan to give you predictable appointment outcome. So this is your challenge before we meet next. Now, our next level up will not be next Tuesday because we have team meeting. It'll be the last Tuesday in January. And that is where we'll dig in detail with the exact how-tos to execute these lead generation pillars well. So your challenge, if you put it in the chat, fantastic. If you did not, or you're not sure yet, you're still trying to decide, your challenge between this week and next is to choose your 3 pillars based on your personality, the ROI you want to have, what you're willing to do weekly consistently, even when life is busy. Lock in your 3 pillars, commit to it, and ignore everything else. It doesn't matter the other things, right? Just those 3. Commit to your 333 daily. Hit all 3 lead gen buckets every single day for predictable results. Don't we all want that predictability? We want to know what to expect in our business. This is how you do it. You don't have to feel like you're on a roller coaster. You truly don't. And then you're going to dominate 1 pillar this week. So once you choose your 3 pillars, maybe some of them are new to you. You're going to pick 1 pillar and go all in on it for the next 7 days. So for example, if database obviously should be one of your pillars, maybe the next 7 days, you're going to make sure you have your automation up and running for the year in your database. And that's how you go all in on that one. Maybe the next one is open houses. You're going to attend our open house certification workshop tomorrow to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row to have killer open houses, right? You just choose it, make it great, and then move on. Success comes from narrowing your focus, not expanding it. Success in your business is not about doing more. It's about doing less better. Does that make sense? It's not about doing more. It's about doing less better. The most successful agents do fewer things more often. Okay, I am going to stop screen sharing. Let me check out the chat real quick here. Oh, I love it. Lavetta's going to do open houses, social media, database. Vanessa's still thinking about it, but thinking about open houses and social media. Love it. Open houses, database, social media. Love it. Agent to agent referrals, open houses, and social media content. That is fantastic. I'm so excited. Next time, like I said, we're going to dig all in next time on the how-to. So think about, we're going to talk about content calendars. We're going to talk about social media strategy, open house strategy, database strategy, all of those things we're going to dig into in more detail. So you're going to feel super equipped. What questions do you guys have? Is there anything I haven't covered that you want to know about, or comments, feedback? Feel free. You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Questions, comments, takeaways. Was this helpful for you today? I hope it was. Oh, I love it. Once again, this was great information, Vanessa. I'm so glad it was helpful. Zanetta, love it. So glad you're here. Hi, Maggie. Awesome. So glad you guys are finding this helpful. I'm so excited to keep digging in with you guys. We are going to power up. 2026 is your year to make big things happen in your business. And isn't it empowering that it's just about being systematic and being intentional? This business is not complicated. It's not easy, but it is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. That's what we're focusing on. You guys are awesome. I'll send the resources, the recording, and everything out to you guys so you have it. And I'll see you here next time. Invite a friend if you want. And thanks for being on. I'll see you later. Bye.